In taking their action to evade or avoid providing information, the administration unnecessarily raises the suspicion that it has something to hide, that it might use the claim of national security to hide mistakes that are literally questions of life and death for Americans.
Yeah, folks, that was Senator Hillary Clinton questioning, well, what's the Bush administration hiding? Joining us now is Bill Kristol, founder and editor of the Weekly Standard, ABC News contributor. Bill, it was great to see you at the Queens Village Republican Club, and since then you've been to Israel, you hung out with Bibi, you're back, and welcome back to the show.
Thanks. It was great being with you in Queens. It was great being with Bibi in Israel. Both great honors, obviously. Similar meetings, really. You, Bibi, the leading conservative voices of our generation. So
there you go. Absolutely. Well, anyway, you were a great keynote speaker. But before we get to Bibi, this Hillary thing, the latest is that the Benghazi committee has written to Hillary's lawyer requesting that she testify about the emails about the server. And we also now have revelations that turns out Hillary did email at least Uma Abedin from her iPad, so where she said she only wanted to use, she didn't want to have to use two phones for two separate emails. She was using two devices. This story keeps falling apart more and more.
I keep thinking this story has got to do her in, or at least provide an excuse for a serious Democrat to get in the race and exploit it. Martin O'Malley seems to want to run, but then he takes these shots at Hillary, which is somewhat effective. We need to change, blah, blah, blah. But it's not going to really matter until one of them is willing to go after her on this and say, are you kidding? We can't nominate as a nominee someone who, as Secretary of State, may have broken the law, but certainly evaded the laws for totally personal reasons of personal secrecy and the like, and no plausible rationale in terms of good governance or national security. In fact, damaging to good governance and national security. Is any Democrat going to have the nerve to say that about Hillary Clinton?
I don't know. I mean, even Martin O'Malley
I don't either.
Isn't saying it. Yeah. I mean, when we found out on Friday that, sorry, she wiped the server clean. Carly Fiorina said what some of us were saying for right along. Hillary's ignorance in technology was never more apparent and on display than when she had that press conference. She said a Secret Service guy guarded the server. No one's going to steal the server. They're going to hack the server. It's just the whole thing is just beyond belief.
It is amazing, and I think it also reminds me, as you say, that she's a little out of touch and not really the next generation candidate. I continue to think she's a weak candidate, not so strong in the primaries, very weak in the general. I honestly do worry that Jeb Bush is the one candidate who would have the most trouble exploiting her weakness for obvious reasons. But even he, I think, actually, if it came to it, could beat her. But I think the other candidates would have an even better chance. Carly Fiorina's done a pretty good job, I think, incidentally, of as the one woman in the Republican side, the likely candidate. She's really gone after Hillary, and I think she thinks she can do it maybe more easily than the men can. And she's done some good damage to Hillary, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's talk about your time with Bibi. And here we are. They've extended the deadline now, Bill, according to all reports, just breaking as we hit air, to tomorrow, or they extended the talks to tomorrow because the deadline was today. CNN had to take down its countdown clock, which they were running all day. Look, I'm convinced a deal will be signed. And no matter what the deal is, the worst part of it is, because they're going to have nuclear weapons one way or another unless they're bombed, but the worst part is, then after they sign that bad deal, they're going to get legitimacy throughout the international community while they're taking over the Middle East.
No, it's terrible, and the deal is so bad in so many ways. And at this point, it's not just the deal is so bad, the capitulation on all these provisions is let them have the nuclear infrastructure, let them keep Fordo, the site that's buried in the mountaintop, and it was a secret about which they lied, not buried in the mountaintop, buried in the mountainside. But now the very existence of the talks is just bad news for us, because it just lets them continue to humiliate America and send the signal everywhere in the Middle East that they're the top dog, and we're sort of begging for them to sign something, anything. I really think Republicans need to get serious, and I wonder if they should almost come back early, and they won't, of course, from recess next week. And but certainly the week when they get back, after the week after that when they get back, they need to move on the sanctions, because this sanctions regime is about to fall apart. It's the most damaging thing Obama's going to do, is let that fall apart, but you can't let that's hard to put back together. And I think it's time to just blow the whistle on these talks and say enough of the capitulation, and let's try to prevent the president from signing off on what will just be a terrible development in the Middle East and in the world.
Absolutely. All right, Bill, always great to talk to you, my friend. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, take care. Bill Kristol, ladies and gentlemen, of the Weekly Standard. Yeah, it was it's getting bad. It's going to be bad. Like I said, they're going to get nuclear weapons unless they're stopped militarily. But once they sign a deal, then all of a sudden they're recognized by the international community now. John Sununu, next.